Hey guys, welcome back to another Our Life episode, or alternative life I guess I should say, because we're continuing with our AU stuff with Cove. Only 3 more things left to do, and then we'll be saying au revoir to our sweet ocean boy. So, I'm going to save the vows that I should have said for the end of this video. As you can see, stuff is in our future. But first, what I'm doing is confessing about the money to Cove in step 4, and then we're gonna go to the vows at the wedding where we find out about it from Cliff during the speeches, that's the word. But I kind of got stuck on the way to getting that one ready, as you can see by a visitor. So you guys can join me for that. But first, let's go and get into an awkward thing with our boy Cove here. Oh yeah. Something about the way Cove worded that dug up a memory you hadn't thought about in a long time. The first time you met his dad and the money he offered you. Chewing at the inside of your cheek, it felt like a lifetime ago, but you knew that it would still matter to Cove if he knew. You just weren't entirely sure what it would mean to him. You snuck a quick peek at Cove, but his stare was already glued to you. He raised a questioning eyebrow, leaving the rest up to you. Actually, there's something I've been waiting for a chance to talk about. Cove frowned, but you had his attention. He slowly slid down to sit on the corner of the bed. I love that the game always is like, you know what, I was just joking. Okay, when you and your dad moved to the neighborhood and you ran away, remember that?
Of course.
Well, I met your dad first, and during that conversation, he offered me $20 to be your friend. His mouth fell open and his head tilted to the side. There was no unringing that bell. Feeling a bit guilty, you couldn't look at Cove while you admitted how you reacted to the offer. And I did take the money. The look on Cove's face twisted. His eyes pushed into a squint, his lips screwed up, and you saw his stare dart across your skin.
Oh my god.
Sorry, Cove. The realization tumbled out of him in a whisper. You couldn't read his expression, but it remained firm. Oh no. Cove, no! I made my boy sad again. Until big, sad tears started bubbling and dripping down his cheek. You flew a few steps forward, shocked and eyes wide with concern. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. The apology came out in a whisper. You felt like a broken record, but that's all you could think of. Cove's tense jaw slowly loosened as his mouth began to wobble into a frown. Emotions overtook him and he failed to swallow down a broken sob. The tears pooling in his blue eyes intensified, and they streamed quickly down his cheeks. Cove hung his head low and let them fall. I mean, I would want to hold him, but I'm like, I feel like I've just betrayed him, so I'm like, do you want me to hold you? Unable to stay back any longer, you closed the space between you both. He flinched over your touch initially. Honestly, real. But after Cove leaned into you and his sobs reverberated in your chest. The tears continued, but you didn't mind getting wet because Cove needed this more. You just wanted him to feel better. It wasn't right away, but Cove was eventually able to pull himself more together. He straightened his back and sniffled. You took a nervous step backwards to give him some space. Cove let out shaky breaths while he scrubbed the remaining tears from his face.
It's okay.
I'm not upset with you for what happened, or because you're telling me now. You didn't do anything. I actually feel bad for you. You had to keep a secret you didn't ask for, and it was for most of your life.
Yeah, but I could have told you at any time. A weight felt like it was lifted off of your chest. The corner of Cove's mouth hooked into a bent smile, but his stare was still glossy with tears.
I'm not mad at my dad either.
Then why are you crying? His tone grew delicate again. His emotions were catching back up with him.
It's just... I'm just so happy with my life. About how it went. But so much of that, what happens with everything, is out of your control. There's stuff like this. My dad secretly offering you money to be my friend. Remembering those days when I was little and pretty much my whole world was decided by other people just really made it all hit. Especially because I'm finding out there was even more going on than I realized.
His bottom lip quivered, and new tears ran down his cheeks.
It's scary to think about. It would have been so easy for none of this to have even happened.
Cove threw his arms to the side, trying to convey where you were standing, where you had ended up after spending a life growing up together.
What if my dad moved us to a different neighborhood? Or if I didn't move away with him at all? Or if my dad didn't care if I had friends or not?
I'm so glad.
But it didn't go differently, and you're here with me. We're together, and my parents are some of my very best friends, and I'm just... really glad.
Your legs felt weak under you during his confession, but you remained rooted in place. Cove seemed to grow more confident.
Molly.
You're my one and only.
Aww. This is so hard to hear right before I'm like, and then in our next life, we were with Derek, and in our next life, we were with Baxter, because it's just like, all the changes, right? Because he's right, like, life is just, it's weird. All the different crossroads and what could have been, what didn't end up happening. It's just like, oh my goodness, it's wild to think about. I'm grateful I got to meet you. You're the best thing that's happened to me. Aw. Your voice broke with emotion and his eyes watered again.
You are for me too.
The shakiness in Cove's smile lessened, and it grew stronger and more assured. I'm gonna give you a hug. You pulled Cove into your arms, and you felt him melt into you. Tightening your hold, you silently sent thanks into the universe for letting Cove be a part of your life. You both waited there, enjoying each other's company. When another minute passed, you felt a calmness settle in your chest. It's out in the open, finally. That's a relief.
Yeah, but hey, your secret-keeping skills are seriously unmatched.
Chuckling, Cove ran a hand through his hair. You nodded in agreement, trying not to think too much about how many years you'd been holding on to that.
We even got together before you brought that up.
Yeah, kind of a bad move on my part, honestly. I was worried about how you were gonna react. Your voice trailed off into a whisper and your head hung heavily.
I get it. I would have been afraid to tell me when I was younger too.
He surprised you further with something remarkable. He smiled.
Don't worry about it.
It's fine now.
There was a playful gleam, and Cove's expression shifted into a smirk. He leaned forward, and you could feel the warmth of his breath.
Are there any other confessions you want to make while we're doing this?
Instantly, your skin felt like it was prickling and hot. Thoughts about dropping to one knee spun rapidly around in your mind. He noticed your shocked reaction.
Actually, don't worry about it. I was joking.
Cove scratched the back of his neck nervously. You took a deep breath and felt yourself calm down. Thanks.
Yeah.
Cove clapped his hands together once, trying to clear out the awkward air.
Well, we better get back to business, huh? We've got a full schedule ahead of us for your mom's big day.
Sighing deeply, Cove shrugged. The look he gave you was warm and affectionate, and you knew that everything was going to be okay.
But thanks again. You know, for letting me know what happened.
No problem. I'm glad we got to talk about this. Alright, and then that was it? Okay. And then we're back to our normal stuff. Man, that was an emotional confession as well. I so far, still, step 3 is my favorite. Anyway, we got a new person at our wedding, in a way. I don't know what changed. I do know that when I was getting up to this save, I was saying to Liz in step 4, like, oh, you know, I wish Shiloh was here, and the dialogue was completely different. I didn't do anything different, other than not confess to Cove. So I don't know why Shiloh's completely different. My interactions with Shiloh were the same, but Shiloh be Shiloh, so let's see what kind of Shiloh we got here. Dressed in minimally formal attire, with his well-worn hat attached to his now longer hair, he had settled himself right in with the rest of the crowd. His legs were hanging over the left side of his chair so he could more easily face the other guests next to them. There had been plenty of light-hearted chatter until the focus switched to you and Cove as the couple of the hour. His wide eyes sparkled seeing the two of you. It was a level of enthusiasm that used to be reserved for your older sister alone.
Molly! Cove! Congratulations! It's amazing that you're married now.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Well, I mean, I hugged the other Shiloh, so I guess I'm hugging him. He eagerly embraced you back, wrapping one of his arms around your neck and pressing his face into your shoulder.
It was nice of you to come. I'm sure you're busy?
Shiloh's perpetual smile widened as he slowly shook his head.
Oh no, it was nice of you to invite me.
Shiloh's right, we're generous. You're still a friend of mine, you know. He still continued to smile non-specifically, pointedly choosing not to comment further. Same old Shiloh. Awkwardly, Cove attempted to carry on the conversation further, but the list of topics he knew of to discuss with Shiloh was severely limited.
Yeah, so have you said hi to Liz yet?
Shiloh pressed his hands to his chest gleefully.
Of course! She was the first person I talked to when I got here. It was great.
Cool, cool.
Okay, quite a bit different from the other Shiloh. That was as much as Cove could carry on his own, and he sent over a look your way hoping for assistance. How's work going?
Oh, it's great. Everything's going well, but it is a little boring to talk about.
He turned away bashfully, unwilling to speak more on it. What are you doing for work? You grew your hair out more.
Yeah, I thought it'd be nice to do something a little different.
It looks good.
That got Shiloh blushing, though most things did.
Aw, thanks.
Yeah, he's basically just the same kid we grew up with this time, which is funny. I'm relieved to see you still got that hat.
I had to. It is a classic.
You both chuckled. Shiloh wouldn't be Shiloh without a hat. Well, goodbye. You'd already asked everything you could think of, and he didn't expand much beyond them. Shiloh's gaze shifted casually between you and Cove. He could read the situation. Your chat was coming to an end. He finished off the reunion sweetly.
Honestly, I know the two of you will be together forever. It's wonderful, and I'm so happy I got to be a little part of your adventure. I hope the rest of the day goes perfectly.
Yep, couldn't guess what the future would be, but that was fine.
Thank you.
Cove was at a loss on what to think of the man he'd known since he was 8 years old. Thanks. Take care of yourself. You and Cove took a moment to say hello to the rest of the guests at the table. Shiloh didn't interrupt or engage further at all before you moved on to another section. Alright. So that was our alternate Shiloh. Let's see if we can just... This is a happy wedding. He snorted through his nose, adding an eye roll for good measure. I'm gonna hug you. Wait, Wait, you didn't have a girlfriend last time. We actually... Didn't Shiloh brought a girl last... Did Shiloh not bring a girl? What is happening? How's your girlfriend doing? What has happened in this world?
She's as delusional and pushy as ever. I don't know what's more absurd. The two of you keeping in touch with someone they only know as a pain they had to randomly interact with, or her still not dumping me after years.
Oh my god, are you with... Are you still with Jerkette? What the... Wait. Does that mean in the other universe Jerkette dumped your butt for Shiloh? Oh gosh, that is an awful universe. Is that what that means? Okay.
Why don't people go away? Why do they keep sticking around me?
Maybe because you're not as unlovable as you think.
Maybe. Jeremy made another sound that wasn't quite a sigh that time, more of a disbelieving puff.
Maybe people have worse taste than even I gave them credit for. But anyway, she's doing groovy. Don't worry about her.
Groovy. Yep, that sounds like Jerkette. And how's Pran? Alright, we're gonna just keep on skipping through this. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. I appreciate you. Right, your interaction with Shiloh's gonna be a little bit different, because he's different. But suddenly a bright voice broke through the tiny party of 3 you had going.
You're here too? That's so cool!
As musically as your childhood friend tended to speak, they were all sour notes in Jeremy's ears. His hackles immediately went up at the realization of who else was a guest. He was frankly ticked. You hadn't seen that furious expression since he was 12. He really had gotten the energy to be angry back. But the defensive reaction had no impact. Shiloh joined the bunch, taking the spot right at Jeremy's side, even leaning over closer towards him with an ear-to-ear grin.
Hi!
Jeremy shifted his weight the opposite way to regain some distance, the rock-solid glare never wavering.
Couldn't this have waited until that terrible group reunion I'm certain we're gonna have to go to in 6 years or whatever?
What?
Shiloh almost knocked his own hat off with how dramatically he startled back from such a suggestion.
We shouldn't hold off for that. If there's a chance to hang out, we've gotta take it. We'll always be group mates, even if we've graduated.
And of course, that's your perspective on things, because life is an endless series of disappointments.
He followed that up with a long sigh through gritted teeth. Your sensitive husband rapidly looked back and forth between the two men, in distress over Jeremy's potential distress. Cove loving Jeremy so much is my favorite thing.
Hey.
But you weren't the only one who could feel the anxiety coming off of Cove as Shiloh began to speak placatingly to him.
Don't worry about Jeremy. He'd be sad no matter what, and it's your wedding. And at least there's free cake, that'll be something, right?
The last line was sent over to the person in question before Shiloh turned away from him again. He's like, cake.
Jeremy has a soft spot for baked goods. He's probably excited about it.
It's gonna be a good cake. Shiloh shared personal details that were probably a secret so easily that it was as if in a single second he'd forgotten Jeremy was right there to hear him do it.
Really? I feel the same way.
Jeremy chose to ignore Cove's attempt to relate completely. He rubbed the tips of his fingers into his eyelids.
Why do you know that? Why do you remember that? We haven't spoken in years!
That made Shiloh chuckle. The cheery bent of the tone was undecipherable. It could have been coming from an affection for Jeremy's prickly attitude, or amusement from getting under his skin, or something else.
I'd never forget anything about you, Jeremy.
Jeremy's brows twitched, and his frown pressed deeper into his cheeks. He was as confused as you were, and even more frustrated at what Shiloh was even trying to accomplish.
Yep, you're still Shiloh.
Of course! Who else would I be?
Someone better, maybe? Or at least someone less grating about how unpleasant they are.
Oh no, I'm just me. We should catch up. Let's get drinks.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
But he still did it. Jeremy gave a slight nod to count as a goodbye and stalked off towards the drink counter. Jeremy was definitely more accepting of blonde Shiloh, but this is fun. His old group mate followed eagerly behind, step for step. Shiloh gave a wide wave over his shoulders towards you and Cove.
Bye! Congratulations!
Having spent the entire exchange as an observer, Cove recalled that he could speak and sputtered out his own goodbye.
Oh, bye? Thanks for coming.
Have a good night, I guess. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. Okay. It'll never not be weird. Never
Exciting.
ever. What's happening? Oh no. Is this the bouquet toss? Placing a freshly obtained drink on a table, Shiloh happily followed along to participate. But not without insisting Jeremy come to the group with him. There was a muttering too far away for you to hear, but Jeremy was obviously annoyed. To keep Shiloh from being in his space, Jeremy stepped away until he was at least close enough to the other people to kind of be considered as part of the crowd. So he bullied him into the bouquet toss. I'm curious. Call me curious. Okay, if we give it a steady throw.
Bravo.
Okay, so it's Kyra. And then if we go back. What if we do a delicate throw? Okay, for our cousin. Your cousin was quite literally jumping with joy, holding a bouquet up high in her hand. I did it! Woo! Awesome. Okay. And then if we did a tricky side shot. Cliff, okay. Your father-in-law was off to the edge of the group with a baffled look on his face and a bouquet in between his arms. The position of it was uneven, almost slipping through. He hadn't caught it with precision, but he did have it.
Oh.
Someone else can take this if they want. I don't need it.
No way, Clifford, that's your win. He looked downward shyly, then felt nervous again seeing the flowers in his hands and ultimately settled on looking off to the side.
Alright.
Poor Cliff. Alright, what if we did a good throw, but it flailed? Aw, Miranda! Miranda was crouched nearly to the ground, having just barely snatched the bouquet before it landed on the floor. From the seating area, Terry's glee could be heard. Yes, we love that. You did it! Yeah! Randy's face lowered into the flowers as she stayed curled up, but the petals didn't hide the fact that she was blushing and smiling. Adorable. I might make that one official, honestly. It's super cute. Alright, what if we toss it up high? Your big sister was handling a bouquet and tapping the end of it, satisfied against her other palm. She looked at every other person in the crowd with a smirk.
Nice try.
But I win. You were positive she didn't care about the meaning of catching a bouquet. It was purely about the victory of the catch. That sounds about right.
Nice.
Alright, and finally... Nyum. Derek! Derek was firmly holding a bouquet in one hand and pumping his other arm victoriously.
Yeah.
As humble as Derek usually was, winning a game always gave him a boost of confidence. Terry could be heard calling from the seating area.
That was amazing!
That is great. You know, I might actually stick with Derek. I think somebody said you can get either Shiloh or Jeremy to catch the bouquet. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know which options it is. I'm just gonna try... I think there was one with Elizabeth where it misses her. I'm just gonna double check.
Bravo.
Okay, no. not that one. We're gonna try it like 3 times.
Bravo.
It might be already like just what's the word I'm looking for? Like scripted now for her to catch it.
Bravo.
I think so. Okay. I'm gonna give it to Derek because it feels I was gonna give it to Miranda because that's adorable, but I'm gonna give it to Derek
Bravo.
because he's gonna be next, so it's kind of I don't know. It just kind of works out. Let's dance with everybody. I'll get some water. I added a lot of spice.
Love you.
Okay, let's see when the speeches happen.
Hey.
Here we go. Okay. Excellent. We got there in the end. I got so distracted with all the alternate wedding shenanigans. Your hands clenched around the tablecloth. You could also remember how the two of you met and how you'd never mentioned what happened during that meeting.
So, me and Cove were still unpacking the car when he ran off on me. I didn't know where my boy was then, or what I was doing, or anything at all, really, as you'll soon be able to tell.
Cove leaned forward at the recounting of events, an eyebrow raising in concern. You remained stiff against your chair, only able to wait and see what happened.
I was sitting around on a curb when Molly strolled up the road, heading home. I knew her, or I knew of her. I'd met Pamela and Noelani already. Talking to them is how Cove got away from me.
Cliff shook his head, trying not to get too lost in his complicated mess of thoughts on those times.
But that's not the point. What matters is that I'd heard Molly was their 8-year-old, the same age as my Cove, and that Molly was the only one that age in the neighborhood. In my infinite wisdom, I'd picked out a place that wasn't exactly a family-friendly community. It was mostly a bunch of retired vacationers.
He gritted his teeth and placed a hand to his forehead, feeling the sting of that day as if it was fresh. Wonder if we can skip some of those. We can. Okay. In a valiant effort to try not to make the mood of your wedding too heavy, Cliff gave a goofy shrug.
So I offered Molly $20 to be his friend.
You did?
Cove's shout was easily heard by every person in the area, no mic required. Cliff physically stumbled a step back over the outburst. He swiveled his head to glance between his incensed child and said child's spouse. Then it clicked.
What?
Don't you put this on me! Dad, how dare you!
You didn't tell him? Ever?
He was absolutely slack-jawed. You looked away from the wide-eyed stare of your father-in-law to instead see how Cove was doing, but it wasn't any better. His hands were held up in front of his body, clutching at the air in a desperate "are you kidding me" gesture. Sorry. When life returned to Cliff's body, he sprung back to the counter with a beaming smirk.
I'm gonna give you another 20.
Dad, no! Cove continued the far distance conversation, leaning against his palms pressed on the table and lifting up from his seat.
No! Stop paying her! We're already married!
Best response ever. You can stop. I've already married her.
Sorry. It's not a bribe this time, just a gift for being such a reliable accomplice.
Cove petulantly crossed his arms and dropped back down in a huff. Is the wedding off?
No.
You're too good to me. He mumbled an answer. The deep red of cheeks revealed more embarrassment than true anger. Following that pattern, Cliff murmured into the mic while blushing and rubbing the back of his neck.
Am I allowed to finish?
Fine.
Like, fine. The word was sharply spoken, but at a normal volume. It was impossible for anyone but you to hear. Cove paired it with a single curt nod to get the message across.
Okay, what I wanted to say was that it's just funny to me.
Yes? Go on.
I'm so glad.
Tears streaked down Cove's face freely. He didn't fight their falling. All confessions of secret deals were washed away from his mind. Aww. He still loves his dad. Let's see. There we go. Okay. We did it. We made it through the speech. That was so funny. You can stop paying her. We're already married. Gosh darn it. Okay. Now, one last thing to do. What I should have done the first time, and the best way for us to end the series, is to do the vows in the order and get all of it. Here we go. I want to thank you. Oof. For getting to know me, helping me feel comfortable in my body, sharing your parents, being brave for me when I was scared, remembering things about me, even stuff that wouldn't matter to anyone else, for always thinking that I was worth a gold medal, for being there for me when I found out about my biological parents, for all the times you insisted I get the bed, for supporting me when I got my first big job. Can I do all of these? I'm so curious. I'll do the first one and we'll see. For really getting to know me. And for loving me for me. Yes, I can. Oh my, I could have had such a much longer vow speech. I'm so mad at past me, you dummy. Anyway. For helping me feel comfortable in my body. You've always been able to reassure me about that. For sharing your parents. They're a real perk of being with you. For being brave for me when I was scared. You're my hero. For remembering things about me, even stuff that wouldn't matter to anyone else. It matters a lot to me. For always thinking that I was worth a gold medal. Even back when we were kids. For being there for me when I found out about my biological parents. That was important, and I'll never forget your support then. For all the times you insisted I get the bed. You're a very stubborn gentleman. For supporting me when I got my first big job. It was so encouraging to have you rooting for me. And besides that, I promise to never stop trying to make you happy, to cherish everything you've given me, to let you have joint ownership of my shell collection, to always leave a window open for you, to continue letting you have tastes of my food, to sell pretzels with you if we ever need to resort to the backup plan, to comfort you when your anxieties make you scared, to still love you, even as we both continue to grow and change. To wait as long as you need for everything. To wipe your tears when they fall. To get you a house directly on the beach someday. To wear an anklet on request whenever you want. To go along with your spontaneous dawn adventures. And along with that, I adore your wavy eyebrows, your laugh and your smile, the way you angrily sip at your drinks, how you rub your arm when you're nervous, how easy you are to fluster, how excited you get about food, how clingy you are, the way you're somehow always a bit of a mess, the awkward way you try flirting, that you're so open with your emotions, that you've been such a beach bum ever since you were born, that adorable way you text, that you're such a troublemaker. Cove's blush had crept all the way to his neck after you let yourself get carried away listing every little detail about him that charmed you. You're my Cove. And you're the one I'll love for the rest of my life.
Oh my god.
Keith, oh, that was so much better. Why couldn't we have done that the first time? That was so much better. Cove covered his face with trembling hands. He was laughing, crying, and all around about to pass out again. Your justice of the peace nodded contently, accepting these vows as your sworn oath to your very nearly husband. Alright, once more with fielding. With fielding? With feeling.
Cove Holden, do you take Molly Wayrider to be your lawful wedded wife?
He let his hands fall, ready to face you directly. Cove's shaking, dripping, wet eyes stays locked to yours. And with the confidence of a man who'd been waiting for this moment for years, he answered with complete surety.
I do.
It was absolutely heart-stopping, but your turn to respond had come.
And do you, Molly Wayrider, take Cove Holden to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do. Cove's smile was radiant and his tears were constant. You'd sincerely made him happier than anything ever had. Your maid of honor and Cove's best man stepped forward. They each held out a small box that contained a wedding band. Cove's hand shook as he reached for the tiny treasure chest. With a focused furrow to his brow, he accepted the silver ring, and the blue sapphire sparkled gorgeously in the light. You gladly offered your hand to Cove. He cradled it gently in one of his own. For a few seconds, all he could do was stare at your skin. Cove was so still for a moment, but then he used his free hand to bring the band towards your fingertip. And we're married again! He carefully slid the ring to its proper place on your finger. Your gaze locked onto it, utterly amazed. Swallowing thickly, Cove raised his hand out for you. You held it in return and brushed your thumb across his palm. It was your turn. With that, you retrieved the matching ring from its box. It slid onto Cove's finger beautifully. He gasped under his breath, fixating on the ring. You tenderly squeezed his hand, and Cove finally met your eyes again. He held your gaze with an electrifying stare. You were in awe of the whole moment.
Then, by the power vested in me by the state of California, I pronounce you husband and wife. You can now kiss.
Cove's knees may have started knocking together once more, but his gaze was nothing but eager. Alright, we're gonna do a passionate kiss to end this off. Waiting even a second longer was impossible. You sprang forward like a shot and tangled yourself around him. Your husband stumbled, but was able to keep proper hold of you, as you knew he would. Your lips connected with Cove's in an urgent expression of your love for him. He returned the kiss just as needily. You used the thumb to carefully push away the tears still clinging to his eyelashes. The beautiful flowers of your bouquet tickled against your skin as Cove's body pressed it up against you. Yay! After, your faces shifted away just a hair's breadth so you could see one another fully. His expression was wholly adoring, and you could still feel his warmth lingering. The crowd erupted with cheers and applause! Yay! And with that, I think it's time to say goodbye. I'm sorry, that was self-indulgent at the end, I know, but it didn't feel right to say all that and not go through with the whole, you may now kiss the bride. So we did it, it's done. All the alternate stuff is finished with our boy Cove, and that was very, very sweet. It's gonna be so hard for me to go on and move on to Derek, but I am excited for Derek, I really am. He's a cutie. It's just gonna be a completely different life, which I guess is the point. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed all this alternate stuff and Cove's route in general with Molly. It was great. I had a great time. I guess next time I see you, we'll be doing Derek's route. So hopefully I will see you there for that, guys. Thanks again for joining me. Until next time, I will see you later.